Hey, Vaughn.
Hey, Kim.
Happy playoffs.
Yeah, they're here.
Yeah, they are here and very exciting, but also kind of sad the season's over.
I know, right?
Yeah. But we'll welcome everybody. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast, But First Football. We are here to talk about all things football. And of course, we're super excited because it is playoff time. And no one is more excited than me, people, because my Bucks, as ugly as that game was, and it was ugly, especially the first half, it was ugly. I was stressing out, but we won it and well, we'll talk about it a little bit later. But anyway, nobody's more happy than me that the playoffs are starting and we are in it. But I'm just the teeniest bit concerned because you know how we talk about the Bucks don't play well in prime time.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's a prime
Every
time
every
game.
playoff game is prime time.
It
Yeah.
is, but it's 8 o'clock on Sunday. It's that game, like
Sorry.
that. That's the game. Like if it was the 1 o'clock game, yeah,
Yeah.
good. So anyway, I'm here, everybody, with Vaughn, and just want to give a shout out to everyone being affected by those horrible fires in
Yeah.
LA. Everyone knows Vaughn is in San Diego, so thankfully it's not heading down that way, but it is bad. And I know, like, I was watching Good Morning Football this morning, and they broadcast from LA. Half of their production team, their hosts, no one could get there, so they were broadcasting from home. And I know I saw, was it Emmanuel? What's his last name?
Acho?
Uh, yeah, Acho. He was evacuating last night from his home. So there's just so many people affected in general, and a lot of people affected in the sports world. And
Yeah.
certainly, there's a playoff game in LA Monday night, so at this point, it looks like it's going to happen unless they have to move it to Glendale, which would be the neutral site, which is what they said they would do if they have to make that change.
Yeah. And as I was telling
So,
you offline, we had a similar situation in '03 where we had a game here, had some fires, air quality, and we ended up
so
going
bad.
to Arizona to play the game.
I remember, I mean, how the air quality can be there during those fires. It's not good and certainly not safe for athletes. And I think, is SoFi half open, kind of open? Can they close it?
It's
What?
like it's almost like a greenhouse is what it is. There's like a kind of a glass ceiling, but I think you would be affected by the air.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it looks
it's not like a
awful.
dome.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So our hearts and our good vibes sending it everyone's way in LA. And it seems like every week we have something that we just have to acknowledge because it's just so awful.
yeah, yeah,
But that's one of the things we love about football. It is a wonderful distraction and unifier and something for people to look forward to. And I know it's been that for me many, many times in my life, and I'm sure for you as well.
yeah. Absolutely.
So here we are to talk about it, and our fundamentals this week I think is going to be very interesting. And I know I am curious about this. You're going to tell us a little bit about playoff compensation. So how is everyone paid to play in the playoffs?
Well,
Did I
okay,
get that right, or did
yeah,
I? Okay,
that's right. Yeah.
okay,
So playoffs are just different in general, right? The intensity is raised, the stakes are raised because it's you lose, you go home, and so that just makes the game just that slightly bit faster than in the regular season, and you can't really speak to it, but when you're out there, you feel it's like, oh man, it is a little bit faster, right? And so oddly enough, the compensation system works differently. Your contract, your that you earn during the year, is paid over the 18 weeks of the regular season, and so there's the vast majority of these guys will be essentially taking pay cuts. But of course, it's the opportunity to win the championship, so that's not really the point. I just wanted to bring it up and talk about it because it is so very interesting and different in terms of the divisional round and the wild card round are under one set of rules, and then the championship round and the Super Bowl are under another set of rules in terms of who's eligible for a playoffs year. So there's basically a pool. It's not like everyone has a salary per se. There's a pool of money for each round, and if you play in the game and you're now here's where it gets kind of hairy in terms of who's eligible, right, for a share. And it's just about roster designations basically. If you're on the 53-man roster, you're entitled to a full share, right? Well, then you break it down. There's other designations, which is way too much for us to get into and way too confusing. Just know that the rules are different in terms of who can actually benefit from who is entitled to a full share of the playoff round. So basically, if you are a division winner playing in the playoff round, I'm sorry, playing the wild card round, a division winner, you've won your division during the regular season, but you didn't earn the first round bye.
So like the Bucks.
So like the Bucks, and they're playing in the divisional round. If they go to win the Super Bowl, they would be capable of earning the most money throughout the playoffs as a team, as an individual on that team, because you get a little bit more for winning your division
Okay.
playing in the playoff round. Now, everyone else, including the teams who have a bye this week, and so I actually do know the numbers for this round. So it's so the division winners get 50,000 for this game coming up. Everyone else gets 45,000, and the two teams, Detroit and Kansas City, also get 45,000. Even though they're
Wow.
playing. Yeah. Now that wasn't
Interesting.
always the case. That wasn't always the case. That's kind of a change. It used to be that the people with the buy didn't get anything, but you were essentially rewarded with more rest, able to get healed up, and so that was your compensation, quote
That's
unquote.
so interesting. Even though
Yeah.
they get the bye because they have the best record.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. But now they get the money too, right? So Um, and then even more interesting, going back to my time, so practice squad players do not get a playoff share. They're not entitled. They get their normal salary in terms of I believe we talked about it maybe a few months ago, and the minimum they can earn is 8,000 per week. The maximum 12,000 for younger players, 3 years and below. A veteran who's on practice squad, their numbers are 16 at the low end, 20,000 per week at the high end. Now, a team can, because when you're on the practice squad, you're eligible to be signed by other teams. So if a
Hmm.
team maybe wants to keep a player from signing with someone else, they might move them up or they can pay them at the full roster share and so they'd be paid at the minimum for their year, and so the minimum
Okay.
they could that they would earn is, I believe this year is $40,000. So that's a significant increase if you're one of those
Sure.
guys that they're interested in pull, or because the rosters expand by a couple players, and if you're one of those players that they put on the active roster, I mean that's a huge deal, and that's a nice little bump for you at the end of the year,
Yeah,
with the
definitely.
potential to even go further.
Did you, by the way, see that the Chargers signed Ezekiel Elliott to their practice
I
squad?
did not really.
Yeah,
Oh
so
wow,
the Cowboys released him and so the Chargers signed him to their practice squad.
very interesting. Oh
Isn't
wow,
it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy, right?
I wonder, could be injury stuff, but it probably never hurts to have a veteran like that,
Well,
especially.
I guess he asked to be released because he wanted to be on a playoff team. Does he have that much clout? I mean, it seems
Well,
like.
look, Jerry loves him, and they have a great relationship. I think most teams in that situation would have said, "Hey, yeah, we'll release you so you can. We don't want to ruin your opportunity. You're not very productive
Mhm.
with us." I think most teams will, but that team in particular, with Jerry and the way he is with his players, he was absolutely gonna allow him to do that.
So basically, so he's now signed with the Chargers practice squad for like he's been off for like 2 days. He's been on it, and they're
Yes.
going to the playoffs. So I wonder if they're going to pay him or if he's just going
Well,
to stick
if
to.
they designate him for the expanded roster, then yeah, he would get paid at the minimum for his year.
Wow.
Unless, of course, like I don't know what his contract is, but I'm assuming since it's a practice, he's on the practice squad, that it's probably at the veteran minimum for his year, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But again, like it's not regular season, but it's the playoffs, so it's again, it's kind of capped as to what a player can make. Um, for each playoff game. Now the championship round and the divisional round, the money kicks up significantly, but again, not to the point where guys are getting anywhere near what their contracts are, especially like these quarterbacks who are making,
Yeah.
upwards of 50 million in a year. They're
They're like,
definitely
oh, 50,000. Oh,
right. They're taking pay cuts.
whatever.
they're taking pay cuts, right? And so I think the number this year total, like I said, like if the Bucks were to run the table in total for the 4 games they would end up playing, I think the total is 340,000 roughly, which is significant money. Don't get me wrong,
Sure.
but I'm just saying
Yeah.
a comparison to their salary during their contractual salaries, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just very different, and so there was even a situation I couldn't find it, but I know a few years ago, Michael Bennett, there was a rule about, and that's what it is. I said there's so many different designations in terms of how the money is handled in the playoffs, and it's a lot of it is confusing. But one of the interesting ones that I couldn't find if it's still in play, but I know it was a few years ago and worth mentioning is Michael Bennett played for the Patriots. It didn't work out, but he played 8 games. He played half the season for them, and so because he was traded to, he got ended up getting traded to the Dallas Cowboys because he was traded to the other division. I'm sorry, excuse me, other conference.
Okay.
He still got part of the Patriots playoff share,
Whoa.
even though he wasn't on the team for half the season.
That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I can't remember if the Cowboys made the playoffs that year, but he was still entitled because he was traded to the opposite conference, the National Conference, coming from the American Conference. He was eligible, and the Patriots obviously went deep into the playoffs that year. He was entitled to a full share uh,
Wow.
for the Patriots as if he was there. So yeah,
That's really interesting.
and that's what a lot of these designate. If you're on IR, if you're a veteran and you got 4 games, you're entitled to, like, and it's just too much for us to talk here in the 10, 15 minutes we devote to that. But it's just everything changes in the playoffs is basically the big takeaway in terms of the games, in terms of intensity, consequences, pay structure. It's all ramped up and amped up, and that's why it's so exciting. And again, you just got to get
Yeah.
into the tournament. Whoever's in it has an opportunity, and that kind of plays into one of my fave frustrations, flops later coming up. So,
Oh, I can't wait to hear it. Well, that's it's so funny because you hear some of these guys who like have gotten into the playoffs now, and I forget who it was that said, "I've never played in a t-shirt and hat game before," where they have the ready,
right,
which is really funny to me because all the ones, they have both teams ready, and then the ones that don't win, those t-shirts and hats go like, to some third world country, and these poor kids are running around in t-shirts that
right.
never for games that never happen. But
The
anyway,
Bucks win.
t-shirt, yeah, t-shirt and hat games. And then the other interesting little tidbit that I learned this week, and I guess I didn't know before, but there are only 2 wild card teams that actually went on to win Super Bowls. Do you know which ones they are?
I know the Giants in '07 were the wild card, and I'm going to say I can't remember who would have won the NFC South that year, but I'm going to say the Bucks when they won it.
Yes, sir. That is
Yeah.
correct. Ding, 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 ding. Yes, that was our last Super Bowl year, 2020, a COVID year.
Yeah.
That Bucks were a wild card team, so that's kind of why I feel pretty good about where we are right now.
Yo, yeah, just
We-
get in. Get in.
Get
And then,
in, just
and then
get
let's go
in.
from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that compensation stuff because that sheds a really kind of a different light on.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at this point the players they're not playing for the money, right? At this
No,
point,
no,
like
no.
that's not where we are now. We want this, we want the championship. Yeah,
And behind
and
beyond the hats and the t-shirts, you want the ring.
yeah, yeah,
The
yes,
ring
I've seen
is
those rings.
so gaudy and uncomfortable to wear anywhere. It's a trophy itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I can't imagine. I think winning a Super Bowl just must be one of the most amazing feelings ever.
I got to tell you, obviously, I didn't win the Super Bowl, but I know what it's like to win the game to get to the Super Bowl. In our situation, it was in peril. We were up. First of all, we get lucky because it's 65 degrees in Pittsburgh. We play pretty much the perfect game, but they've got the ball driving. They're in our within our 5 yard lines with seconds ticking down. They had four full shots at it from inside our call it our 10 yard line, and that fourth down, and I'm on my knees. We're holding hands. We're just praying like someone make one play. And I know what that feeling is like. And our middle linebacker knocked the ball down. They were checking down to their running back in the end zone, and there's nothing like it. So, well, there is something like it. There's something better actually, but
Still.
I'll call it the penultimate feeling to get to the Super Bowl, and then the play to win the Super Bowl is the ultimate feeling, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just something so few people ever get to experience. We'll have to find video of that AFC
Oh yeah,
game of
yeah,
you.
yeah.
That would be awesome. Well, so we'll move into our faves, frustrations, and flops. And I'll just, go for it because you all know what my fave is. My fave is we are in the playoffs. Woo, woo, woo. And so I don't have a fashion fave this week, as I was telling you earlier, because I was just so distracted. But I'm going to give it to Mike Evans for wearing a t shirt of himself because that just takes some
Good stuff.
cojones.
Yeah.
So that game was like just really stressful. They did not play well in the first half. The defense did not show up. But we were playing the Saints. They're our division rivals. They hate us. And the Saints came to play. I got to hand it to them. And that was, right after the New Year's situation in New Orleans. They had a lot to play for.
Yep.
And the first half, I thought that Spencer Rattler, their rookie quarterback, he looked pretty good. He kind of started getting flustered toward the end. But our defense was like nowhere. But then second half, we came back. Vita Vea was like, can you imagine you're Spencer Rattler and there's Vita Vea in front of your face? Like, he's like, hey, kid, you're going down. And then Baker really turned it on. Baker ran for 68 yards. Like
Oh, did he really?
oh yeah, he had to. He really had to. And then Bucky Irving again had a great game. So there was like the Bucks were winning 21-20 and there was just a few minutes left. And I knew they were trying so hard to get the ball to Mike Evans because going into the game, he only needed 85 yards to tie Jerry Rice's record of 11 consecutive seasons of 1,000 yards or more.
Right.
All he needed was 85 yards. But of course, it's the Saints and they were not going to give it to him,
Yeah.
if they could help it. So there's like a minute 55 left, I think it was, maybe. Bucky Irving ended up scoring the touchdown, put us ahead 28-20. And I know everyone was kind of like, everyone was super happy because bottom line is we had to win the game, but everyone was like, oh man, Mike, okay, so we need a 3 and out, and then let's get the ball to Mike. Because at that point he needed 5 yards.
Okay.
5 yards, like 5 yards. But the defense gave up like some big chunks and they were driving down the field. I was losing my mind. I'm like, no, this can't be happening. They go down. They had to go for it on fourth down. They turn the ball over. The team goes out there like, we're getting this. We're getting this for Mike. And can you imagine like Todd Bowles? And he was all for it. He's like, no, we're getting this for Mike. But what if there had been an interception? So many things could have gone wrong. There was
Right.
like 12 seconds left and he did it. And it was so awesome. Everybody just
Yeah.
exploded. Like
We
everyone
all
in
had
Ray J lost
that.
their mind. It was so cool. It was just so, so, so cool. And, Mike Evans, he has played on some of the crappiest teams and he has still been so productive. And he missed 3 games this year and still so productive. But I just don't think there's anybody in the NFL who's unhappy, except for maybe Marshawn Lattimore, who hates Mike Evans. and who, by the way, is now on Washington. So those battles that we used to see with Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore, it's
Sunday
going to
night.
happen on
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? I tell you, I heard an interesting story, and I can't remember his name, but he's on Dan Levitar's show, which you know I love. Is down your way Florida show, and they have an executive who used to be with the Marlins, and so he does an excellent job of talking the business side of sports, just in general, not just as it relates to baseball, but you know he's got
Mhm.
knowledge about the other sports as well. And he was so upset with that in terms of from the executive side saying if they did that without the knowledge of the ownership of the executives in the building, then I would have had big problems with all the coach, the players, everyone, because that 3 million we could have done something else with it in terms of the next season. Like he was really like, and he kind of at the end of it said, "Listen, I'm not trying to be the Grinch who stole Mike Evans' bonus." But here's how we look. All that stuff is approved beforehand. Hey, who in this last game or even throughout the year is looking at making bonuses? What bonuses are they making? And we approve that. We let that happen, right? And so I was just like, oh, like I never thought about it from that standpoint of it. Like,
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't have thought that either, but I will tell you, if they didn't let Mike Evans get
oh, it would
that,
have been a problem. It would
Tampa
have been
Bay
a
would
problem.
have like there would have been a mutiny. And
Right,
we're capable of that because we are pirates.
right, right.
And then the other great thing was Coach Bulls got Coach of the Week. They gave him
Oh,
Coach of
did
the
really?
Week. Yeah, so that was exciting because he's nobody ever like gives him any credit. Like he's just he's a low key guy, but I was happy to see that because hey, who else has won the 4 times? No other NFC division has won the division. No other NFC team has won the division 4 times in a row. The Bucks have, and I know NFC South. I get it. I know. I hear everybody. Wah, wah, they're so bad. Well,
Guess what? Guess,
oh
guess
well.
guess who built a dynasty on their division being weak for
Right.
15 years?
The
New England
stinking
Patriots, Tom Brady.
Patriots.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Everything's cyclical. It's just their turn.
That's right. So, what was your fave?
My fave was the Broncos. Look, you know I don't care about the Broncos either way, but
I know
and
this is very interesting.
in general, the Broncos, specifically Bo Nix, because 4 or 5 years into this, excuse me, years, weeks into the season, they were talking about him being a bust. And Sean Payton they were persistent and they just did the work, put their heads down, didn't listen to the outside noise. And now he's considered one of the best quarterbacks in that rookie class, and they made the.
Yeah.
So that was just, and that's why just one of a million different stories why people love the NFL. And even if you're not necessarily a Broncos fan, I think you can appreciate that and be happy for the just the turnaround story. And it's just and it's just a bigger story for just life. Just when stuff has you down, just you can't listen to the outside noise. You just gotta
So true.
keep plugging away and it's really, and I hate saying it this way because you have to trust the process. You really do. You can't get
Well,
me all about the result. You just have to trust the process. I'm doing the right things. I might not be rewarded today, but at some point it's going to work out for us.
coming from an AFC West guy, that is, that had to be hard for you to say.
Yeah, well, you know what? I never hated the Broncos. I mean, you didn't like them necessarily, but I never hated the Broncos. The Chiefs and the Raiders I always hated.
Well, so frustrations. I'm going to go to, so my frustrations and flops kind of go together. Well, but I have another, I'll go with this frustration.
Okay.
Watching the Steelers play football right now
Oh,
is frustrating and painful.
agreed. Agreed.
I mean, people, I hear people say, well, the Bucks don't belong in the playoffs. I'm sorry. You know who doesn't belong in the playoffs? And I'm sorry because my niece Dalby loves the Steelers. My sister-in-law Denise loves the Steelers, and I really like the Steelers too. But the past few weeks and that last game are brutal to watch.
It's been the last
Just
month, pretty
yeah,
much. Last
ugly,
month,
frustrating.
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's, look, I mentioned I'm a Tomlin fan. I was happy that Russ seemed like he was turning things around, but they have really backed into the playoffs again. Just get in
Hmm.
any way you can. But like it's their kryptonite, the Ravens
Yeah,
kryptonite. So I don't
yeah.
I hopes for Saturday. We'll see. But yeah, I mean,
Anything could happen, but it
and it
just
has been
doesn't feel
ugly,
very good.
ugly, just not.
Yeah,
Look,
really ugly.
but it's a short window, but they can do a reset. Hey, man, we got in the tournament. Whatever whatever it's looked like this last month, the totality of it says we deserve to be here. That's how they have to feel about it. And hey, we don't like those guys. Let's go punch them in the mouth. And
Yeah,
let's get mad, you know?
yeah, yeah. What's
Yeah.
your frustration?
My frustration was the Bengals. That they didn't get in because I just, and look, the Chargers got in. I was happy about that, but I was also looking for that kind of that chaos agent, and it was the Bengals for me. And I was like, there are so many teams breathing a heavy sigh of relief that the Bengals did not get in because they were going to be a problem for a lot of teams.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure what was going on. Like we talked about it forever. We were mid-season talking about, well, look at Burrow's numbers, and sometimes the numbers can lie to you because when you're down and your quarterback can stack up a lot of meaningless numbers. But I just believe I was like, I just think something's going to change and they're going to turn, and they did. It just wasn't quite enough in the end. But trust me, and I think they would have played the Bills this weekend had they made it, and I don't think the Bills wanted that.
I don't, yeah. Well, there's also all this talk about how pissed the Cincinnati fans and players are that Kansas City. They felt like Kansas City did that on purpose, so they didn't have to play, which is just
Those
nonsense. It's just nonsense. But
but that's the thing. Even if they did, maybe they were playing the long game, and we're like, hey, we might need to have to see them if they get in. We might need to have to see them at some point.
right,
Let's avoid it. This is a meaningless game for us, so
yeah.
I'm not mad at them if they did.
Well, I know you're a Burrows fan. I have to be honest, I'm not. I just am. I don't like the Bengals. So, but I agree with you. I think they would have been exciting to watch in the playoffs.
Yeah,
And aside from my team and my team's AFC or NFC, so I wouldn't have to worry too much about it. But I want good games in the playoffs. That's what you really hope for.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So my flops are really like tinged with frustration because I
Okay,
have two of them, and I just think it's really crappy that Jared Mayo and Antonio Pierce both got fired
yeah,
after 1 year.
yeah,
And again, I'm not in the NFL. I'm not affiliated with the NFL. I don't even know this, but to me, it screams a little bit of racism. These guys got 1 year, both with pretty crappy situations in terms of player personnel, quarterback situation. I mean, New England has a good situation going forward. The Raiders do not. Um, I just can't imagine, and I can't imagine that the Giants are keeping Dable. And
right.
then these two guys who have had 1 year, and Jared Mayo was the heir apparent to Belichick.
Yep.
How do you possibly turn around and get rid of him after 1 year? To me, it's crappy and it's a flop in my mind.
I think the most egregious one is Antonio Pierce, just because his quarterback situation just
No quarterback, no quarterback.
there was no chance he was going to have any success. And at some point, the Raiders have to commit to someone at that position, and they've tried it all different ways. But you kind of let the process again. Trust the process. Look, if you thought he was the guy, he did a good job for you as the interim coach. If we shore up the quarterback situation, Antonio Pierce can be our guy. Now I don't know what happened internally. There could be stuff internally, like with the Flores situation, where he was just rubbing everyone in the organization raw, trying to be the reincarnation kind of Bill Belichick. Um, the Gerard Mayo, which is interesting because they're going to probably the guy who's going to end up getting the job is a former player. It's probably going to
Yeah.
be I can't think.
Vrabel.
Great, yeah, Vrabel. So that one, yeah, I look,
I just don't think one season is a
yeah,
fair
yeah. No,
measure,
I get it, yeah.
e
And again,
especially with the teams. I mean,
and you pulled the perfect comp, Dayball. Like, are you serious? How was he not fired 2 years ago? Right.
right, right.
So yeah, I don't know. It's tough. And here's the thing: do they get another opportunity? Now, Raheem Morris did. He was fired after a year in Arizona. Obviously, he's the coach in Atlanta now.
He was fired from here. He was in Tampa when I first moved here.
Was he really? Was he the head?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah. They fired him, and then they brought in that insane Greg Schiano, and then that other nut job, Dirk Ketter.
Oh
But,
wow. Okay.
they're also all over Raheem Morris about his game management. I mean, they're really critical of him.
Yeah. 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 Look, that's the thing. Sometimes it feels like those guys have to perform above and beyond everyone else, and so they're not getting the same opportunities to succeed. And look, it's hard to establish anything in a year. It just is. And
Yeah,
I heard what Kraft had to say, and generally speaking, I think Kraft is a very capable owner, and he knows what he doesn't know, and he kind of gets out of the way, unless football operational people do football operational things. But he just said, "Look, I love that we won the first game. There were flashes, but towards the end, we just weren't making the progress." Now, again, I'm not in that building. I don't know what their key measurements for success are, and so I can't really speak to it. I'm just saying, generally speaking, I trust Kraft as an owner. Okay, of course, he's made some questionable decisions over the years, as we know, but um, so I think for me, the one that just is just like, come on, what are you guys doing? Is the Raider one, and it's
yeah, it's horrible. Well, they did fire the GM today. I'm glad because
oh, really?
I was going to be really pissed if they only fired Antonio Pierce, but they fired Talasco today.
So I played against him in high school.
What? No.
He went to one of my rival high schools. He was I think maybe he was a sophomore my senior year.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
but one of the Charger alumni weekends, we kind of talked about. I didn't know it. He brought it up to me. I didn't even realize it. But yeah, he's a Saint. I went to St. Joe's. He went to St. Francis, and so yeah,
Interesting.
interesting,
Well,
right?
he needs a job.
Yeah,
He needs a job. What was your flop this week?
of course it's the
Yeah.
Cowboys because they just the gift that keeps on giving. They're
Every week you say that's going to be it.
I know, but Jerry just keeps dropping it in my lap. He keeps teeing me up, and it's like, what are you doing? And so, look, you have a lame duck coach. He doesn't have a contract going forward. But then you say in the final little pressure of the year that, hey, we're gonna go talk to whoever you want to talk to. But then the Chicago Bears express interest and want to talk to him, and you tell them no. So now
Yeah.
it gives the impression that we are interested in re-signing this guy. Like it's just such a mess of
Such a game.
cluster. It's
Yeah.
and it's like, what are they doing? And they're probably not going to have any serious continuity in their plan until Jerry's just not running the team anymore. And some of the stuff I hear is that his kids are capable. I guess we'll see, Steven. But it's just what are they doing? And it's I don't know. And I don't know why. It's a me problem. It's definitely a me problem. I
It's
love
a you problem. You
Cowboys.
love to hate the Cowboys.
I do. I absolutely do. And more so because of their fans. I love it to I want to other faces the whole America's team thing, and they are just
I
mediocrity.
don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. But to me, it's more funny than floppy.
Well, it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both.
All right. Well, we are at time, and we are almost at playoffs. So lots of football. 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and a Monday night game. So it's going to be great. And
Yeah.
let's just pray to the football gods that the Bucks keep up this great work and beat Washington. I feel like they can. I think we can be the spoiler in the NFC. So fingers crossed.
I'll keep my fingers crossed,
Um,
guys. I don't mind.
okay.
I'll
Okay. Please do. Please
tell you
do.
what, though, real quick, the AFC is going to be a gauntlet. A lot of capable quarterbacks.
For
Um,
sure.
so
Yeah.
whoever makes it out of there is going to be battle tested, and so the NFC better look out.
I agree.
Yeah.
But oh my God, if Kansas City is the AFC team, I don't care who is playing against them. I'm rooting for them.
Right. Everyone's tired, so tired of them. Like I get.
So tired of them. All right, Vaughn. Well, everyone, please, we are But First Football. Take a look at our social media and give us a like, a follow, a subscribe on all our various platforms. And we will be back next week with so much to talk about, as
Absolutely.
we have every week. So, Vaughn, take care. Stay safe
Okay.
out there. Let's keep those fires out of San Diego,
Yeah. Yeah.
and hope for the best for LA and
Definitely.
everybody out there.
Okay. Talk to you
All
next.
right.
Bye.
Peace.